us to the last skill, and that is self-awareness. In this pandemic time, we've got a lot more time than we would have asked for or probably even liked. How have we used this time? Before work from home picked up the way it did, and before we stopped realizing that work from home doesn't mean every single moment spent at home needs to be spent on work. That's not what work from home means. It does not mean that throughout the day, since you're at home, you have to keep working. It still means that you are working and there is the home. So you need to spend time with your family at home and also with your work. You need to still create that balance between work and life. The difference is that the way you create that balance doesn't have to be the way it was earlier. You don't have a fixed routine. You don't have to go out, step out of the house and come back at a specific hour. You don't have to go crazy with traffic and come back with that tiredness. You can create those spaces and that balance throughout the day instead of creating this airtight routine that you followed all your life, right? So it's no more a 9 to 6 or a 9 to 9 or a 9 to 10 that you're used to. It could be a 9 to 10 and then 10 to 10:30 is a break where you reconnect with your family and have maybe breakfast with them, and then 10:30 to 1 could be work, and then 1 to 2 could be a long lunch, and so on and so forth. So the new normal that we are facing requires a new routine to come into life. Have you looked at that need? Have you been able to crack that new routine? And this new routine will be created when you are aware of your own needs, when you are aware of your own surrounding, when you are consciously working on your own self and your level of awareness. Your level of awareness will also help you to be creative, collaborative, think in a more critical manner and communicate more effectively, because from your self-awareness will you know what you need to work on and what is your strength. And that brings me to SWOT analysis. We have known this as a tool for a long, long time. If you've done MBA, you've spent a lot more time than you needed to on SWOT. And you know exactly what I mean. Have we really done a SWOT on our own self? Do you have a piece of paper on which you run your SWOT? And if I ask you to take a picture and share it with me, can you do that in the next 1 minute? Is it handy with you? Is it even done by you? Have you only known what SWOT stands for, strength, weakness, opportunity, threat? Or do you really know how this tool works? Have you worked upon this tool for your own self? When we look at a current situation and we see opportunities shrinking, it is a time for us to dive into our strengths. And our strengths are not limited to the work that we do. It is about the skill that we have. If you have an analytical skill, you don't have to do only what you do. You don't have to be just in that one role where you have applied analytical skill. You can apply the same skill in some other kind of work. Even maybe if it is a different industry, you could still apply that skill. So what are the skills that you have which are your strengths? And once you know that, then you know within the limited opportunities that you thought there were, there are in fact a lot more if you apply your skills better. If you know what you're good at, there are multiple opportunities that you can explore. And that doesn't have anything to do with your past experience. Your past experience doesn't have to be extended or probably be the same forever. It could be a different industry, it could be a different work, it could be a different skill that you, maybe your strength is that you have a knack to pick up things real quick. And you're really good at it. When you get on to learning a skill, you are much faster than other people around to learn that skill. And that's your strength. And you can apply that strength if you have to learn artificial intelligence today. You can apply that strength if you have to do an online course today and create an LMS platform like how we had to do. So at SBY, we were totally offline. We were doing only offline workshops and training solutions. And when this reality hit us, like how it hit everybody else, we just got the entire platform online in less than 2 weeks. And this is not something that we knew. We had to learn it. And we learned it because of the other set of strengths that we have about picking up things fast, about creating a team very quickly, identifying talent and getting the right people on board. These are your strengths. When you know your strengths, they come to play much faster than otherwise. When you don't know your strengths, you are always struggling with finding out opportunities where you can exercise similar things that you have done in the past. You're looking for similar experiences, which is impossible if the environment keeps changing, and it will. This is not the only or the last crisis which has hit us. There will be something else again unprecedented. There will be something which will hit us again, and that's part of life. How ready are we depends upon how well we know who we are. What is my strength? Who am I? And that is not just an esoteric question. It is a very real question. It is a question where lies your ability to deal with any sort of change or any crisis or situation. So doing a SWOT is extremely critical. If you do this course with us, Upskilling Leadership Blueprint that we have to offer, we will make you do a SWOT in the level 1 course itself. The second thing that you need to know is your biases. Your bias is a thought process that subconsciously affects and influences your decision making. Right? It could be a limiting belief. It could be something that you have concluded based on certain experiences from the past, but you're not engaged in these biases very consciously. Some of them can come to your awareness, but a lot of them are outside the purview of your awareness. Right? So, for example, herd mentality is a very common bias. Now, whenever I see a lot of people agreeing to something, a large part of me believes that it must be right. And that's why everybody seems to be agreeing. Everybody is going in that direction. So maybe that's the right direction to hit. And we follow the herd, right? That's the herd mentality. Another bias, I mean, there are many. In fact, we've done 20 biases. We've covered them at length in our level 2 course, Upskilling Leadership Challenge. So one bias is confirmation bias, where we understand something to be right, and then we pick up evidences from our surrounding to confirm our understanding, to just be able to tell our mind that, see, this is how it is. I am right because of this and this reason which I see in my environment. And I don't go beyond that. I don't go to a point where I can challenge my own understanding on a particular thing. And that confirmation bias confines my information web. Remember, we talked about information web a while back in critical thinking, that we need to go beyond the sources which are easy, which are handy, which are low hanging. I cannot do that if I'm stuck with a confirmation bias. I will always go to the lowest hanging. I will always go to the familiar and operate from that, and then think that this is the best decision. People who can take pride in their decision-making ability are people who also are comfortable stepping out of their comfort zone and exploring the unknown, challenging their own understanding, and being open to new understanding, new facts, and new sources. So are you aware of your biases? That's a part of self-awareness, over and above knowing your strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. And the third way of increasing and working on your level of awareness about your own self is to invite conscious learning in your life, which means not just learning about your subject matter learning, but also learning about yourself, about who you are, about the person that you are, about your own authenticity, about your core, and connecting with that core, about finding what spirituality means to you and connecting to spirituality in your own way. And that doesn't have to be religious. That doesn't have to be dramatic. That doesn't have to be a center stage, or doesn't have to get people's attention. But what is your way of connecting back to your own core, to your own self? And that for me is spirituality. So what is your spiritual practice? What is your practice to learn more about yourself? Meditation is one way of doing that. Sitting in silence could be another way. Taking a Zen walk could be a third way of doing that. But moments that you create consciously where you can be with yourself is the spiritual practice that you need to invite into your life. Sitting and reading a book with a coffee in hand is not your spiritual practice, because it is not letting you be with yourself. You are engaging your mind in the doing. You're doing something. You are with a story, or with a thought-provoking book, or you are with something that is driving your mind, and your mind is active, thinking about something outside of you. When you are indulged in a spiritual practice, you are more inside of your own self than outside. You're more in the being than in the doing. So we've in fact been extremely inspired by the need to bring this spirituality as an element in leadership, and recently launched a spiritual leadership course called Upskilling Leadership Mastery, which again is available on our website, sbyacademy.in. With your permission, I'll take you through that at the end of the session, but you can explore that as an option to see how you can create awareness through spirituality and then use that awareness to sharpen your leadership skills. It is a process. It doesn't happen in one session. It doesn't happen by reading one book or listening to one YouTube video. It happens when you commit yourself to it and you sign up for a structured plan, a structured program, consciously planning your learning and not just stumbling over a free webinar, a free book, a free talk, or something which comes easy or cheap, or only when I have the time, only for this half an hour, only once a month. This is random learning, right? This is when you kind of stumble over some interesting piece of information. But when you are consciously learning, then you have a clear goal in your mind. Then even if somebody is offering a free webinar to you, you will decide whether this webinar is aligned to my learning path or not. Is this what I'm looking for? Is this what I want to learn? And then I will invest my time and effort in it. Then it becomes a part of my conscious learning, and I top it with other structured approaches of continuing with that learning process and not just dropping the ball with one-off session. So I invite you to look at these three ways of understanding your own self and elevating your self-awareness. Do a SWOT, understand your biases, know what these biases are, and create a conscious learning path for yourself by splitting it into both self-learning time and subject matter learning. So I would encourage you to split this equally. Right? It's not, no one is less important than the other. How much time are you investing in your self-learning every single day? By the way, it's not a weekend activity. Are you able to give yourself 30 minutes? Are you able to connect to your own self for 15 minutes? Can you meditate? Can you walk? Can you be with yourself? Can you bring in a spiritual practice? Can you commit to that? Can you sign up for a structured course, a program? To what extent can you take ownership on your self-awareness? Because that is again a skill which needs to be worked upon like any other. So I'll take a pause here before I do a quick recap on all five. What are you taking away from self-awareness? What is your own assessment of your self-awareness? How aware do you think you are of your own self? Let's see that in the chat box. If it's on a scale of 10, 10 being the highest, now that you've understood what self-awareness can truly mean, what do you think is that number for you? From 1 to 10, how self-aware do you think you are? Yes, it is time for self-discovery, absolutely. So it's an 8 on 10 for somebody, fantastic. It's a 9 on 10 for someone, awesome. 8 on 10, Pawan, Anil, Bharat, fantastic, great. So if it's an 8, if it's a 7, what would an 8 look like? What would a 9 look like for you? What is a practice that you can sign up for and you can commit to, which can take your level of awareness to one notch higher? Because that is what we've signed up for as leaders, right? We always have to be in this continuous growth, continuous learning path, which just never ends. And that's the whole charm of it. The charm is that we are forever learning and forever exploring. So how do you change the scale? How do you stretch the scale further? If you are on an 8 or a 9, how do you stretch this further to say there is a lot more depth still left unexplored when it comes to self-awareness? How can I go deeper? What can I do as a practice that I can commit to elevate this level of self-awareness?